Okay, we're live.
Cool. Onegashimasu. Welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. We're experimenting today, so if you see a few tweaks happening in the background, since there's Zoe zooming in or zooming out, it is probably just us playing with the new camera and trying to make things work. Today, a little bit innovative or finding inspiration. Which is a critical part of being an instructor, or if you're training on your own, to keep yourself motivated and to keep moving forward. So I often have the argument in my head between whether or not it's essential to have preservation of the ideas that have been passed on to us from Okinawa and Japan, and to keep everything absolutely like that 100% sacrosanct, and to never look left or right, or whether or not I'm going to adopt the idea a little bit more conservation, which is to take the principles and to use them and to manage those ideas to work better for my environment and to adjust them and to adapt them, etc. And I often find myself saying there's only a certain amount of stuff that is preservation, and the reason for preservation is to keep certain root ideas in place and to keep them for testing, and conservation is the development of your own personal ideas within your dojo, within your training space where you grow. If you don't grow, why are you doing this stuff? The next thing for the instructors out there who are absolute adamant that preservation is the only thing, not everybody does karate for the same reason that you do. It's that simple. You may be an absolute preservationist in terms of self-defense, and somebody's coming to you to get fit, and you're not going to keep the person for very long. You're going to find a new home somewhere else. You're often going to be scratching your head wondering, what did I do wrong? And if you're not, well, then you've clearly got something wrong. The rantings of a loon. Okay, so let's get on with where we're starting from. So from a preservation point of view, we're starting with a video I did a couple of weeks ago on Sanbon Kumite, Sanbon Zuki Kumite, Sandan-gi, and classically Sandan-gi may be something along the lines of a loose kamae, stepping forward Sanshin, Jodan Zuki, Sanshin, Chudan Zuki, Shikodachi, Gedan Zuki, moving back 1, 2, 3. In my dojo, because I have adequate space, we often teach Jodan, Chudan, Gedan, second set, Jodan, Chudan, Gedan. When we move back, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the reason for 2 sets means that we are training left and right sides equally. I know in some dojos they don't have space, so they manage it by doing 3 steps and then swapping legs and doing a repeat. So they might start the first set left side and start the second set right side. So this is cool. And if you look at Shu Ha Ri, you would copy blindly. You would then maybe take the individual pieces, which you may have done earlier in Sanbon Kumite, and practice them as individual pieces. And then you'd kind of repackage it for yourself. And one of my students came in and he said, Sensei, there's another idea. It's corporal. And this is the idea of stripping away all the unnecessary bits until you get down to the bare essential bits. And I think when you look at Sanshin, Shikodachi, by and large, it covers the essential bits. And you can train it accordingly. But along the way, you might find that your students need something a little bit more to entertain them. Alright, so first deviation or variation that I'm doing is based on the fact that there is no Zen Kutsudachi. And if I'm trying to get kids to have the variety of stances, then I bring in Zen Kutsudachi. So Shay's variation or whoever's variation, number 1, Sanshin, Zen Kutsudachi, Shikodachi. Sanshin, Zen Kutsudachi, Shikodachi. Sanchin, Zen Kutsudach, Shikudach. Sanchin, Zen Kutsudach, Shikudach. Okay, so basic idea, forward and backwards, and again can be done with a partner. The idea being it is built with a partner. A couple of years ago, I looked at it and said, well, it doesn't have cat stance. How do I do cat stance, and how do I get it that we can keep it on an odd number so that we're not practicing the right side and then having to change, so we can just do one set after another up and down the dojo. End result, something like this, which may look a little bit different, okay? 1, 2, Sanchin, Zen Kutsudach, Shikudach, Zen Kutsudach, and maybe back, forward, and we have another Zen Kutsudach. Come back to the center line, Sanchin, Zen Kutsudach, Shikudach, Zen Kutsudach, back, Zen Kutsudach. Moving backwards. Adi okay? Chudan okay? And Ambaran. So that's where we get same kind of previous Sandangi. Then as the attack comes, Nekwa Shidach to the outside and block 1, 2, and Nekwa Shidach 3, 4, and then a counter. And then we move back 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And then we would finish. So in this particular variant of Sandangi, what we end up with is 5 steps and teaching the lateral shift of Nekwa Shidach, which is appropriate for Kiksai Daini, and so you're helping build your students stepping while doing basics in some other way. Obviously, being a typical ADHD kid, we come up with a couple of varieties. So I'm going to go further back. So if I start 1, 2, 3, Nukite, Nukite, and Nukite. Alright, when we move back, okay, Iki, okay, and then shote, okay, Kake, okay, block, pull down, and Washiki. So we've built another variation, and so we now have gone from standard Sandangi to +1, +2, +3. We've got 3 variations, and as we're going along, we're starting to build muscle memory. We're still practicing those same stances. So the leg work is there, the donkey work is there. I'm going to take one of these cones. A good friend of mine, Mario, often makes his students train with a cone on the head, and then he makes them do, can they balance and drop into Shikudach. They obsess about this, they forget the pain in the legs, and they end up doing 30 Shikudach squats. Or he's done something complicated with the arms, and the legs, he's done the base work, and he's done lots and lots of repetitions. And I think this is the key to being a good instructor, is how do you mask and hide and camouflage the hard things that we have to do, the low stances, etc. And how do we get the students to be interested in doing it, but not make it the boring, mundane, etc. So hence the title of the video is some kind of innovation in karate, some kind of innovation in your basics. Alright, so I've got these kind of 5 variations, and obviously I went and I spoke to my friend, and we were doing Gashku, and I taught this, and it was like, surely there's a better way to do it. So we came up with a few more ideas. So we changed. So again, from there, just starting Sanchin, Zen Kutsudachi, Shikodachi, Hokutsudachi, and then from there up into Nekwashidachi. So Tetsu and then a Gedan or Chidan Uruzuki. Alright, going backwards. Jodan, Chudan, Gedan, and again, same kind of blocking action. You can even do open hand version to stop that Gedan strike. And then back, Ude. Alright, so that one again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then finish. So, this helps our students build that linear stepping. And it's essential because the linear stepping is the building block of good basic training in the dojo. Obviously, a little bit harder to deal with is the idea of adding in kicks. So when you add in kicks, things start to change up a little bit because the blocking needs to change. Alright, so if I had to go from my open kamae and go 1, 2. So maegiri, oizuki. Then maybe a roundhouse kick and land 3. Alright, maybe your geri land 4. Okay, so now we're back to our basic idea. So we're going to step back. I'm not going to get to all 5 steps that I just did. When I move back into Sanchin Dachi, I need to block. I need to block the maegiri, block the jodanzuki. When I do the next kick, remember my opponent is kicking this way around and landing there. I have to block and then block. So I might be doing this block, but the timing will look something like that. Okay? And then when they do your kogeri, remember they're going to kick through the center. I'm going to have to block and then block. And so you would play with the idea of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll see that I have a tendency to pull my hands into a guard position, not holding them out. And as we move backwards, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we could obviously finish. And so we build these ideas. It comes a point where you start going, where do I need to be going? So we're doing basics for the sake of basics right now. And we started with the preserved exercise, the exercise that is sacrosanct. And we've now applied conservation, management of the exercise, and changing it and adjusting it and tweaking it for the sake of our environment and to get the most out of it. And then we start saying, all right, well, let's rehash where we're going to. No longer book basics for the sake of basics, but maybe that basics will lend itself to something more useful. And so I don't like too much linear kumite anymore. I think it's great, it has its place, tournament, etc. But I do think that maybe we can look at it in another dimension. And that would be taking the movements and saying, all right, if I'm staying here and I'm staying in a small area, maybe 3.5, 4 square meters, how would I do it? So my opponent is attacking, I'm ready, and they're going to attack left hand, so when I move, I'm on the outside, 1. They change direction, I move, 2. Change again, 3. And so we start moving in a circle as they attack, 1, 2, 3. And we build, the next step is building a counter. So I like the ideas of using the block both as the defense as well as the counter. Something that we learned when we were training with Sensei Ronnie Kluger. And so I might take the first one and make one, and it's a punch. And two, and it becomes a jab. And three, gedan uraken. Maybe I block, pull down, armbar. Do something like that. Maybe when I block, I bring this arm in, it starts looking like scissortion. And maybe block, instead of blocking with this hand, block with this hand and look for an over, under, like Sensei Chin. And so we start having an exploration into all the other ideas that we've had on various videos from various sources of seniority. People like Sensei Ronnie Kluger from Jundokan, Sensei Terry Chinen, Morio Hiona, Okinawan senseis like Gawa Sensei, etc. The Minaes. I have to go back to my notes. I know that there is a very interesting, I think it's a 6-step sparring exercise that they do from the Minei Dojo and in OGKK that we need to work on. But I'm just expanding on the ideas I grew up with. So these ideas are the ideas that are relatively fresh and have been constantly adapting from my childhood doing IOGKF kind of rooted karate, and then the Chinen with a little breakaway, Jundokan karate, a little bit of a smattering of Senkai, and then back to Jundokan with Sensei Ronnie Kluger, and now going on to OGKK. And I think that eclectic collection of ideas from those roots make for very interesting karate. I'm lucky, I've had the freedom to do a lot of my own karate and to teach my own karate because I've been able to separate out two different worlds. There is a world that is required for sensei and for grading, and to make sure that that is always covered. And there is enough time to do that, as well as to keep my students motivated and inspired and growing by doing all the other work that comes from other sources. Please don't ever forget to take time to research, go read books, take time to look at old books, old karate textbooks, have a look at videos on YouTube. You'll be amazed at what you will find. And sometimes you don't have to go directly to the source of, let's say, the IOGKF line to Higaonna Sensei. Sometimes you can go to some of his students and find the most amazing karate because they've gone and they've taken an idea, maybe they've seen Higaonna Sensei once every year or once every 2 years, and in that time that they're on their own, they've come up with a whole bunch of core ideas that they're working in their dojos. And they're now being nice enough to share, and you look at it and you go, wow, that's really cool. Alright, and you can use that. And that I think is the importance. I think it's also the beauty of what makes Gorju so fantastically beautiful, is that we're allowed to, within a certain framework, expand our knowledge and constantly keep searching for what maybe Miyagi-sensei was searching for and his seniors were searching for. And that we don't get too bogged down preserving everything as it was in 1953 when Miyagi-sensei died and nobody has done anything blue or bar since. I think it's very important to keep karate evolving. That's it. The rantings and ravings of a loon. I see Zoe's got a finger up.
You've got a question from someone in Germany, if you'd like to answer it.
Hello, guten Tag.
It's from Salvatore. He asks, what is the story behind the katas Gekisai Dai Ni, or Gekisai Dai? What's a quick history of those katas?
The way I understand the story of the Gekisai kata, Miyagi-sensei was part of a team of instructors who were asked to revamp the physical education curriculum katas in Okinawa. And so they came up with a set of kata called Fyukyu kata that are in the schooling system. And they were going to replace the Pina no Heian katas that had been put into the schooling system around about, I think, 1890. by Totsu Ananko Sensei. So they came in, and a team, not just Miyagi Sensei on his own, I think Choshin Chibani of Shorin-ryu was the other very senior person who was consulted, and they came up with 2 kata. And the original kata Miyagi Sensei showed was what we would call Geksai Daini today, having Hikyu-ke and Mawashi-ke in the kata. And we thought maybe it's a little bit too Chinese. He needs to close the hands up a little bit more, make it look a little bit more regimental and a little bit more Japanese. And Geksai-echi was born from that. So Geksai-echi is sometimes called Fyukyu Kata Daini in Okinawa. Fyukyu Kata Daiichi is a Shorin-ryu kata starting with Gedan Rai, Chudan Oizuki. And one of the interesting ways that you can see when it has been taught, when you get to the kiai point, typically Goju people do 1, 2, 3 and stay planted and do Yakuzuki. And our cousins from Shorin-ryu shift up to Sanshin Dutch and do a punch. And so you'll see, and they obviously call it Fyukyu Kata Daini. But this is a school's kata to create a base level so that everybody learns karate and that they can get health and fitness and strength and conditioning. I think there was a propaganda twist to it. Obviously it was pre-World War II, and so it was to help also drive home the concept of we are samurai, we are like the Japanese, we're descendants of the samurai, and we're not giving in the war effort. And I think this is one of the reasons there is a certain amount of pain felt by very senior people when people ask questions related to what is the relationship to World War II. So hopefully this answers your question. I hope you're happy with that. I think it's, we have a Dai-san, which was supposedly developed here in South Africa, inspiration from a senior of Goju-ryu in Okinawa, Paul Hara Sensei, who's now passed away. But it was based on the idea of not fists, but kouke, a lot of kouke, and typically he would do 1 and kouke with the bent wrist so that he could get more tension in the muscle when he did the elbow strike. So that is kind of like a little bit of evolution. So very, very important kata. I think conversations and dialogue about Fyukyu kata, Taiyoko kata for Japanese Goju practitioners, and Geksai are very, very important. Any more questions out there?
Yep, but we have greetings from Sensei Colin from Karate Zen. He says hi. And
hello, Sensei Colin.
And Daniel Earhart.
And Daniel Earhart.
Hi.
Hello, Daniel. Guten Tag. I hope you're well. Excuse my bad German. Okay, I think is that it?
That's it.
That's it. So for my German friends out there, auf Wiedersehen. Bis später. Sensei Colin down in the car park. See you later. Iwas opipat. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Sayonara, wherever you are in the world. I hope you enjoy our live stream. We stuck it in this morning. It was a very, very important part of our lack of planning to test out our new equipment so we can see how well it works. Have an awesome one. And if you're watching the rugby, go Boca.